Welcome back to my channel. There are places in this world that do not simply exist, they remember. They breathe softly, they listen, and they whisper their stories to anyone patient enough to hear. The manor, aged and worn by centuries, is one such place. Its stone walls seem to hum with memory, every crack telling a secret of what once was. You cannot walk through its halls without feeling that invisible presence of time, a kind of gentle melancholy that clings to the air like dust caught in sunlight. Each step upon its wooden floorboards feels like stepping into the rhythm of a long, forgotten waltz, one that lingers in the space between reality and recollection. There is a tenderness in such spaces, isn't there? A tenderness born not of perfection but of endurance. The manor has stood through storms and silence, through seasons that stripped its garden bare and rebuilt it again in spring, and still it keeps its secrets with quiet grace. The scent of old wood and faded flowers fills the rooms, carrying whispers of laughter once shared over tea, of music drifting faintly from a piano now silent. The mirrors, dulled with age, hold reflections not of faces but of memory's moments that once shimmered and now live only in the hush of the corridors. You might stand at a window and see how the light falls across the garden, soft and forgiving, the same light that once fell upon those who came before. The glass is cool beneath your fingertips, yet somehow warm with remembrance. There's a kind of affection in the way the ivy clings to the stone, refusing to let go, as though it too knows that love, even when forgotten, leaves a trace. The manor feels almost human in its longing, a soul waiting to be understood, to be cherished once more. As you wander deeper inside, the air grows still, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. You hear echoes not loud, but steady of footsteps that no longer belong to the living. They are not frightening, no. They are merely the soft reminders that love, laughter, and sorrow once found a home here. The silence that follows is not empty. It is full, almost sacred, heavy with the weight of what was once spoken, once felt. And in that stillness, you come to understand that memory is not just something we keep, it is something that keeps us. The manor, in all its quiet dignity, teaches us that beauty does not fade simply because time passes. It deepens, it transforms, it waits. What was once vibrant and new becomes tender and wise. What was once laughter becomes the echo of love that refuses to die. So when the wind moves through its broken windows and the shadows stretch across the floor, it is not loneliness that speaks, it is devotion. The kind that survives beyond time, beyond decay, and in that devotion we find not sorrow but grace. There are promises that time forgets to keep, and yet they linger quiet, steadfast, patient. They rest beneath layers of dust and silence, waiting not for chance, but for courage. In that manor of forgotten days, such a promise breathes still, folded into the corners of faded letters and whispered through the cracks of long, closed doors. It is not written in words alone. It is written in the air, in the way the sunlight filters through a torn curtain, in the way a door sighs as it opens to welcome what once was lost. Perhaps it began with a letter, now yellowed and fragile, the ink trembling from years of being unread. It speaks not of grandeur, but of sincerity of a heart that waited, and perhaps is waiting still. The edges are worn, as though touched by trembling fingers that hesitated before letting go. You can almost feel that hesitation even now, the soft ache of what was meant to be spoken but never was. It is in these remnants of emotion, so human and so imperfect, that the true promise lies. There is something hauntingly beautiful about such devotion, the kind that endures through absence and time, untouched by the world's forgetting. The manor, in its quiet solitude, guards it as one might guard a fragile dream. Each hallway seems to murmur the same refrain. Someone once loved deeply here, and though that love may have faded from memory, it has not vanished from existence. The walls themselves seem to cradle it, preserving the pulse of what was once alive. When one stands within those rooms, it is impossible not to feel it, the weight of unfinished stories, the sense that something remains undone. The air hums with longing, not for the past to return, but for understanding, for recognition. It is as though the promise itself is asking to be seen, to be acknowledged once more before it can finally rest. And in that realization there lies a kind of redemption, that what was once broken may still be made whole through remembrance. To discover such a promise is to confront the quiet bravery of the human heart. It asks us to listen, to feel, and to believe that not all things are lost forever. There is power in that kind of hope, fragile, yes, but enduring. It is the same hope that moves us to reach out for what we once thought beyond our grasp, to forgive, to begin again. There are places where silence speaks louder than words, and the manor is one of them. Its quietness is not the emptiness of neglect, but the fullness of memory. The shadows that drift along the walls are not merely darkness. They are remnants of moments too tender, too painful, too vivid to vanish. They move softly, as if afraid to disturb the stillness, yet they are always present reminders of lives once lived, of hearts once beating within those same walls. It is curious, isn't it, how the past clings to the air like perfume, faint, familiar, impossible to forget. You walk through a hallway, and the scent of old wood and rain, washed stone, brings 1,000 echoes to mind. You imagine laughter spilling from the parlor, the gentle rustle of a dress as someone turns at the sound of a beloved voice. The shadows seem to play along the edges of your thoughts, not to frighten you, but to make you remember that beauty and sorrow often walk hand in hand. In these quiet corridors, the past refuses to be silenced. You can almost hear the murmur of conversation, the soft crackle of firelight, the melody of a song once cherished. And then, between those tender illusions, a hush falls, not empty, but sacred. It is the kind of silence that follows after loss, when words have failed and only memory dares to speak. The shadows linger then, not as ghosts, but as keepers of feeling, holding within them every unspoken goodbye, every look that lingered too long. There is a certain mercy in this haunting. It reminds us that what we love we never entirely lose. The laughter that once filled these rooms may have faded, but it has not disappeared. It has merely changed form. It now lives in the rhythm of the floorboards, in the sigh of the wind through broken windows, in the way the evening light rests softly upon the walls. Every detail, every creak, every flicker is a tender echo of human life continuing, even in absence. And yet, beneath the beauty of remembrance lies an ache. To be haunted by what once was is to feel the weight of time pressing gently against the heart. It is to understand that joy and sorrow are bound together, that one cannot exist without the other. The manor knows this truth well. It wears its history openly, its decay not a sign of defeat but of devotion. Each faded curtain, each crumbling edge, tells a story of love that endured long enough to be missed. So when we stand within those shadowed halls, we do not stand among ghosts, we stand among memories. They do not ask for fear, only recognition, and in offering it, we come to see that the past is not gone. It simply waits quietly for someone willing to remember. There is something profoundly intimate about stepping into the unknown. It is not only the feet that move forward, but the heart cautious, trembling, yet unwilling to turn back. As one crosses the threshold of that forgotten manor, the air itself seems to breathe with quiet expectation. Each doorway opens like the first page of an unread book, the scent of dust and time mingling with something unspoken, something waiting. It is not merely exploration, it is confession. The soul, in its curiosity, seeks not only what lies before it, but what lies within. Every room carries its own pulse, a rhythm distinct yet somehow connected to all the others. In one, the light filters through torn drapes, revealing patterns of gold that dance upon the floor, an invitation to remember beauty even where decay has settled. In another, the air is cool, still, and watchful, as though the very walls are listening. It is there that the traveler feels the first flutter of unease, that fine thread of fear woven delicately with wonder. But fear in such a place is not to be shunned. It is the sign of life stirring in the dark corners of the heart, reminding us that discovery always demands a certain vulnerability. And so the journey continues, each step a conversation between courage and hesitation. The heart learns to listen to silence, to read the language of absence, to understand that not all mysteries are meant to be solved. Some are simply meant to be felt. There are moments when the past seems to breathe beside you, so near that it quickens your pulse, and yet it is not the past you are meeting, it is yourself. For in exploring what has been abandoned, we confront the hidden rooms of our own being, the parts long closed off by fear or by time. There is beauty in this uncertainty. It humbles and elevates in equal measure. To walk through a place once filled with life and laughter is to walk through the very essence of hope and loss intertwined. You feel the longing that lingers in the air, not a sorrow that burdens, but one that teaches. It tells you that love, though it fades in voice and form, never loses its shape. It becomes the echo that guides you, the faint light that urges you onward through dimly lit corridors. The heart, when faced with the unknown, does not falter, it grows. It learns that not all darkness is to be feared, for within it lies the possibility of light. It learns that what seems empty often holds the richest meaning. And when at last the journey leads you to that final quiet room, you realize that the greatest discovery is not the manor itself. It is the courage you found in listening to its silence, and the part of yourself that answered back. There comes a moment, often when the world has quieted and even our thoughts seem to rest, when truth begins to reveal itself. It does not arrive with noise or grandeur, but softly like the wind that slips through the cracks of an old window, carrying with it the scent of memory. In that silent manner, where every whisper seems to belong to another time, truth moves unseen, yet deeply felt. It does not shout its presence. It waits, patient and sure, in the stillness that many would overlook. It is curious how silence, when truly listened to, holds more meaning than words ever could. Within those hushed rooms where the dust of years lies undisturbed, loyalty and loss intertwine like ivy around old stone. One cannot exist without the other. Loyalty gives loss its depth, and loss gives loyalty its proof. The two dwell together in quiet companionship, their story written not on the walls, but in the air itself, in the faint scent of forgotten letters, in the weight of a door left ajar, in the delicate trembling of a curtain moved by the breeze. There is a kind of reverence in the way truth reveals itself here. It does not seek to wound, though it may ache. It comes gently, allowing the heart to see not only what has been lost, but what has endured. One begins to understand that time, for all its cruelty, cannot erase sincerity. Love, once given freely, cannot be unmade. Even when the laughter has faded and the names have been forgotten, something remains, a devotion that refuses to be silenced. As the wind whispers through the hallways, one might almost hear a confession long delayed, the faint murmur of forgiveness offered too late yet still received. There is beauty in such imperfection, for it reminds us that truth, though often hidden, is never absent. It waits until we are still enough, humble enough to notice it. And when we do, it is not revelation that astonishes us, it is recognition. We realize we have always known it, somewhere deep within, but only in the quiet could we bear to face it. The manor seems to breathe easier once the truth is seen. The shadows soften, the silence feels lighter, almost tender. It is as though the house itself has been unburdened. Perhaps that is what truth does. It restores peace where confusion once lingered. It heals the ache of misunderstanding. It reminds us that even in the most forgotten places, honesty endures like light beneath the dust. And so, in that stillness where sound barely dares to tread, we learn that truth does not fade with time. It remains calm, patient, eternal, waiting only for the heart brave enough to listen.